Melbourne is the traditional curtain raiser to the Formula SimRacing World Championship, and 2019 is no exception. The famous 5.3km circuit that winds its way around the Albert Park Lake is a favourite amongst drivers due to its varying combination of corners. The major change to the track for this year is the addition of a third DRS zone in between turns 12 and 13. It may be a new season, but it was a familiar grid, with the ACR of Juraj Simoncic taking pole position ahead of Martin Gosby, who has moved to ACR's new sister team from flag to flag. Reigning champion Michele D'Alessandro lines up in third, driving for the rebranded Twister outfit, Jean Alesi Esports Academy. He's ahead of 2015 champion Peter Burlak's Edge Esports car. Robin Panzar and Wojciech Lukaszek have been promoted to a full-time WC drive and kickstarted their campaigns by qualifying in 5th and 7th respectively, whilst Ricardo Costa starts his full first season in the World Championship in 6th, driving for the new Ori Miller squad. Hoyer, Callas and Patel would have expected more than 8th, 9th and 10th, whilst Enric Andre stands in for FDF's regular driver, Peo Pave. As well as Ori Miller, Ground Effect and Frami Autosport make their WC debuts, whilst Rakshok, Lazaro, Schoenvliet, Michaels and Van Eyl make their debuts as drivers. The latter is standing in for Invictus Motorsports regular driver Kirill Birakov, as technical issues prevented him from racing. The cars lined up on the grid, ready to kick off the 2019 season, which was finally about to get underway. The drivers revved their engines and months of hard work was about to be put to the test. Lights out and Simoncic's launch was faultless, whilst behind, D'Alessandro got the better of Gosby. Going into turn 1, however, despite the reigning champion attempting a move around the outside, the room just wasn't there. Down towards turn 3, the Ori Miller of Ricardo Costa was immediately on the attack by making light work of Panzar. The rest of the field skillfully survived the first few corners without incident. Simoncic led Gosby, D'Alessandro, Burlak, Panzar, Lukaszek and Hoyer. Callas was running in 9th, but ran wide on the exit of turn 1, which gave Patel an opportunity. However, Callas was not going to give up without a fight. Just ahead, Hoyer took 7th place at Lukaszek's expense. A tank slapper on the exit of the first chicane spelled disaster for Rick Van Eyl, turning off his front wing and causing suspension damage that would eventually result in retirement. It was a tough day for the Invictus camp, as Christian Lazaro collided with fellow countryman Giordano Valeriano, spelling the end of both of their races. Lap 6, and Patel was still stuck behind the net wrecks of Callas. A mistake from the Estonian, however, was all the incentive the Brit needed. Running wide only exasperated the problem and allowed the Frami of Kasdorp through as well. Taking inspiration from Manuel Biancalilla from last year, the Brit made light work of Lukaszek with a spectacular pass at turn 11. The Ghost Speed driver decided enough was enough, and at the end of that lap, pitted for mediums. Costa, Panzar and Hoyer all ahead also pitted, with Panzar almost managing to get back ahead of Costa. The leading pair pitted at the end of lap 13. The pit stops were fine, however Gosby rejoined behind the soft tyre shod Ground Effect of Araneda. Running side by side with Araneda lost a lot of time, but things could have ended a lot worse for the Brit. Contact between the pair caused a chain reaction. An unfortunate Costa was collected, things spiraled out of control, and carnage ensued. Rakshok rejoining into Lukaszek was only going to exacerbate the problem. 5 cars were out of the race in total. Araneda was able to continue after pitting for repairs, but the heavy impacts caused major suspension damage that could not be fixed, which would come back to bite him later in the race, causing his own retirement. Gosby was lucky to escape, however the lost time resulted in him being jumped by both D'Alessandro and Burlak. Lap 20, and Simoncic held the net lead. However, there were cars ahead on hard tyres who had yet to stop that they needed to pass. These included Danny van der Neet's net wrecks, who passed issue 3. In the lead of the race was Geoffrey Fournier, ahead of Yuri Kasdorp and Enric Andre, who were hoping starting on the hards would pay dividends later on in the race. Danny Kish was also yet to stop, and he was proving tricky to pass for Gosby. It was great racing, but not ideal at all for the British driver, barely managing to fend off Michi Hoyer behind. With the use of DRS, both cars managed to pass the Edge Esports driver. Eventually, the hard tyre runners pitted, with Geoffrey Fournier pitting at the end of lap 23, changing to the soft compound tyres. He used these fresh tyres to great effect by passing Patel at turn 13. And the Oro Miller SimSport driver was not done yet. Sander Kallas, his next victim. Lap 28, and the third place, Petter Burlak, had more pace than Michele D'Alessandro. As Edge and JAES are sister teams, Michele moved over to let Petter through, in the hope that the Edge driver could mount a challenge to race leader Simicic. Lap 36, and Gosby pitted unusually early for another set of the hard tyres, in the hope of having less worn tyres by the end of the race. He rejoined just ahead of Hoyer, but contact from the German was not part of the plan. His rivals pitted at a more conventional time to go for the standard strategy of finishing on the soft compound tyre. Meanwhile, Yuri Kasdorp's strategy of starting on the hard was appearing to work, but a spin at turn 1 was only going to hurt his tyres and drop him further down the order. Slightly further down the field in the battle for 7th, Patel made an identical pass on Kallas to what he did on Lukaszek earlier. Kallas' teammate Van der Neet got alongside, to which Kallas offered little resistance. All attention was now on the battle for 3rd, as reigning champion Michele D'Alessandro's tyres had faded. This gave Gosby the hope which he needed. Michele tried to defend, but he could do nothing to keep Martin behind. D'Alessandro was really struggling, and Hoyer had set his sights on the Italian's 4th place. However, that was not what he had intended, and he dropped further behind Geoffrey Fournier. Michi got the better exit off turn 3, however Michele appeared not to see him, with the end result being the ACR Zaxby facing the wrong way and losing 5th place. However, there were no such issues for his teammate Jurnej Simicic. He was fairly comfortable up front. No one had any answer to the Slovenian. He utterly dominated the Australian Grand Prix. Like last year, he kicked off the season in the best possible way with victory at Melbourne, followed by Petter Burlak and Martin Gosby to round off the podium. Reigning champion Michele D'Alessandro was disappointed not to make the podium. In contrast, Geoffrey Fournier made great use of an alternate strategy to finish in 5th. Michi Hoyer will rue the contact with D'Alessandro that dropped him to 6th, whilst Mohamed Patel made great overtakes, but couldn't progress any higher than 7th ahead of Danny Van der Neet in 8th. Sander Kallas struggled and can only manage 9th place, with Yuri Kasdorp taking that final point, despite his spin in the race which saw only 13 finishers. Jurnej Simicic kicks off his season with a win and 25 points then. However, this is how he kicked off last year, and he didn't go on to win the title. Will he learn the lessons from previous years? Or will reigning champion Michele D'Alessandro, or anyone else for that matter, strike back or even prove a surprise in the next round? With 2 cars in the top 6, ACR Zaxby take the early lead in the Teams Championship, whilst Edge Esports and John Lacey Esports Academy are level for 2nd. ACR's sister team, ACR Zaxby Blue, hold 4th, with Oro Miller, Netrex and Frammy all scoring points in the opener. Thank you very much for watching this highlights video, and join us on the 7th of April on this YouTube channel for live coverage of round 2 of the 2019 Thrustmaster Formula Sim Racing World Championship taking place at the Shanghai International Circuit in China.